I don't get paid for this, but the crew needs to get paid. So keep us on the air, please. And remember, PayPal, and ask your friends to subscribe if they can. Now, we're upon Remembrance Day. We remember tomorrow morning all of those Canadians who gave their lives, who sacrificed, men and women, so that we could have freedom, so that we could have liberty in Canada. And we enjoy it. But liberty does not have the right to be hateful to the extent of asking Allah to find those people in Gaza and exterminate them. I'm talking about anti-Semitism. It has no place in Canada, and yet it's finding a place right now. Jewish schools in Montreal are being shot at. In Toronto, businesses owned by Jews are being targeted, and there are crowds, and the mob is outside. This is not just a protest. This is a targeted move to shut them down, to hurt them. And in Montreal, a preacher stood up and said to a crowd, I'm asking Allah to identify and exterminate those who are fighting in Gaza. We're talking about Jews. That same imam has before said that I want to exterminate all the Israelis. This is absolutely unacceptable. This is unbelievably unacceptable. And yet, some of our leaders will say, well, you know, that's the right for freedom of speech. We have freedom of speech, and here on this station, we guard it all the time. But freedom of speech does not mean that you exhort others, God and other parishioners, to go out and say, we need to kill the Jews. That is anti-Semitism. That is just beyond the pale. That's happening in Canada. Some people say, well, you know what? We have the right to our fair views. You're absolutely right. We all have that right to the fair views. That's what the wars are about. That's what people are fighting for all the time. But a fair view, an exchange of liberties, is not to say we're going to go out and exterminate the Jews or any race or any group of people. It's absolutely unbelievable. And our leaders have been weak on this. A few years ago, 50 Catholic churches were burned to the ground across Canada. Nobody said boo about it, and they should have. We now have these crowds, and people saying, well, it's protest. No, protest is one thing. When you want to discuss about what's going on in Palestine, that's great. Let's have that open and fair discussion. And I'm sure that virtually every Jew will want to have that discussion. But when you're saying, go beyond that, we want to exterminate them, and people are pleading with Canadians to exterminate them, and young people are jumping up and down saying, death to the Jews, that should not be allowed. So let's remember and say, let's exhort our officials to be firm and to bring on the laws, the power of the law, to make sure that this does not go on in our country. Because if it does, we're not only despoiling the memory of those who fell over 80 years ago, we're ruining our Canada. So let's honor Canada, let's honor them, and let's just do away with anti-Semitism. Liberties and freedom of speech are under attack in Canada like never before. So let's keep this discussion on the air. PayPal, write a check, and please include your address so I can write a thank you letter to you. And ask your friends, please subscribe. It's important to keep this on the air. And thank you.